Hi everyone, I'm Khaled Zaid, a student in English 107 at Arizona State University, and in today's presentation I'm exploring how religion shapes how people see moral decline and violence in today's world. My purpose in this project is to demonstrate to people that violence is at all times low, and that whenever end times is said to happen, it is not happening right now, at least by the measure of violence and moral decline. My latest text
that violence has been in decline for long stretches of time, and that today we are probably living in the most peaceful time in our species' existence.
As we heard Pinnaker and the TED Talk, The Surprising Decline in Violence, he tells us that violence has dropped dramatically over time, even though many people feel the opposite. The contrast between data and what people believe made me curious. Why so many people still believe we live in a violent, morally collapsing time? While Pinnaker provides a list of possible reasons,
so the question is, why are so many people so wrong about something so important? I think there are a number of reasons.
As he provided a list of possible reasons of the gap between reality and what people believe, Pinnaker listed several reasons, and I expected religious belief to appear among them. I was surprised when he did not mention religion at all. That moment sparked my curiosity and made me wonder, don't most religions present the idea of the end times as a central part of their teaching? So I was determined to answer this in my project, and also to add to the list of reasons Pinnaker had. My research question is, how does the three major religions, Islam, Christianity, and Hinduism, contribute to the belief that we live in a violent world? My findings match what I've observed before, that major religions deeply shape how people perceive our time as violent. Each faith connects violence and moral decline to divine plans or prophecies. To explore this, I break the topic into three layers: violence as a sacred story, moral decay as a divine sign, and how real-world data contradicts both. Let's start with the first one, violence as a sacred narrative. Across religions, acts of destruction are often seen not as evil, but as part of how the world is purified or renewed. In Islam, David Cook discusses hadiths that depict apocalyptic wars, final battles between the Mahdi, the prophesied savior who appears at the end of time, and the Dajjal, a deceiver figure representing evil. The Dajjal is described in Ṣaḥīḥ al-Bukhārī as a man with a huge body, reddish and curly hair, and blind in one eye, as if his eye were a floating grape. In these narratives, violence is portrayed as means of establishing justice and serving as a divine test. Chittick expands on this, explaining that the Quran shows destruction and conflict as part of God's way to reset history and restore faith. In the Quranic verse, chapter 7, verse 96 to 97, and if the people of the towns had believed and feared Allah, we would have opened upon them blessings from the heaven and earth, but they denied. So we seized them for what they used to earn. Then did the people of the towns feel secure from our punishment coming to them at night while they were asleep. In Christianity, Max noticed how violence is woven into redemption from Jesus' crucifixion to Revelation's final battle. Violence is how moral order is restored in Christianity. Hinduism tells a similar story through the Kali Yuga, an age of corruption that ends with the god Kalika's return. Kalika ends evil through destruction and restores the cycle of justice. So across these religions, violence isn't random, it's a sacred reset. The world must break to be made right again. That brings me to the next theme. If violence is sacred, the moral decay becomes a divine warning sign that the end is near. Now let's move to the next part, moral decay as a divine sign. In many traditions, the loss of morality isn't just bad news. It's proof that prophecy is coming true. In Islam, David Cook describes how the Prophet's saying predict that before the end, hypocrisy, injustice, and loss of faith will take over. Believers see this as signs, not failures. Stephen Webb writes that Christian theology often links despair and decay with salvation. Thinkers like Moltmann believed humanity must decline before divine renewal arrives. In Hinduism, David explains that in the Kali Yuga, the current age, truth, compassion, and justice collapse. But this collapse is expected. It means divine renewal is near. Across these beliefs, decay isn't failure, it's validation. The worse things seem, the closer we will feel to divine justice. That pattern keeps repeating. So when people today see corruption, violence, or natural disaster, they often interpret them as prophecy fulfilled, not random history. Now let's contrast that emotional view with something more factual, what the data actually say about our world today. Stephen Pinnaker research shows major decline in war, slavery, homicide, and torture. Our world statistically is less violent than ever before. Yet religions across cultures predict worsening morality and destruction. The data and the beliefs point in opposite directions. Moral pessimism stays strong because religious stories feel meaningful. They make chaos feel sacred, while statistics feel distant and cold. Cook even says, every generation sees its time as the final age. We repeat that idea again and again, even when evidence says otherwise. So in the end, religions build identity through sacred struggle, while data show humanity improving. It's two truths that don't fully align. Major religions keep moral decline and violence alive as divine constants. These beliefs persist against evidence, shaping how people feel about the modern world. Understanding this helps us separate emotional belief from measurable reality. The world might feel like it's ending, but that feeling is part of our oldest stories. And thank you for listening. This project was made for English 107, instructor Tonya Egg. Also especially thanks to my classmates who helped me in this project, Mona, Man, and Bedr. I hope you learned a thing or two from this presentation, and thank you.